Okay, so we talked about some of the achievements, the cultural achievements of the Olmecs. Now let's take a look at some aspects of the Olmec religion. We'll take a look at a hypothesis by a scholar by the name of Peter D. Haralaman, known as the continuity hypothesis. And so we don't know a whole lot about Olmec religion, but there is a way that we can learn more about the Olmec religion without having all of the physical evidence, because they didn't leave any books behind as far as we know, right? And we are not able to decipher their written language, their hieroglyphs, as of right now. But there is a way that we can learn more about their religion without those things, without that type of evidence. And so that's what the continuity hypothesis is all about. This is a hypothesis put forward by Haralaman. He's a scholar in the field, looking at Olmec studies. And so what Haralaman is saying, what is his hypothesis, this continuity hypothesis? Well, the hypothesis is that the majority of civilizations in Mesoamerica over a long period of time followed the same basic religion, or at least they had common characteristics in their religion. Okay? Now, what does this mean? It means that the religion of Mesoamerica, right, was continuous, going on from the time period of the Olmecs through the Classic period with the Mayans, all the way up into the post-Classic period with the Aztecs, that their religions shared certain elements, certain common elements. All right, so the religion kind of, or elements of that religion, continued through those different time periods, going all the way to from the formative pre-classic through the classic into the post-classic. All right, now why is that important? Well, the idea is, what Haralaman is saying in his hypothesis is that because these religious elements were continuous throughout these time periods, we could take aspects from, say, the Aztec religion or the Mayan religion, which we know more about, and project them back onto the Olmec religion so that we can learn more about the Olmec religion based on the physical evidence, the little physical evidence that we do have pertaining to their religion. Okay, and so that would shed a huge amount of light on what the Olmecs believed, and maybe what some of their rituals were, or what some of their ideas about religion or how the world worked were. Okay, because we're able to take religions that we do know more about, like the Mayan religion or the later Aztec religion, and project them back onto the Olmecs, because the idea is that they all shared similar religious ideas. Okay, now Haralaman is coming up with this. Does he have any evidence to support this hypothesis? Well, yes, there is some evidence that supports this hypothesis, the continuity hypothesis. And that evidence is found in Mayan religious works, such as the Popol Vuh. What is the Popol Vuh? The Popol Vuh is a book written by the Maya. It's one of the few works of literature that made its way into the modern time period. A lot of them were burned. Talk about that later. But the Mayans basically wrote down some of their beliefs, and you got to keep in mind there were a number of different Mayan groups, right? And then there was different Mayan dialects as well. But there's a particular Mayan group, the Quiche Maya, who wrote down their beliefs and their origin story of how the world was created, how humanity was created. A number of different histories about certain rulers of the Quiche Maya were all written down in a text called the Popol Vuh. Okay, and so the Popol Vuh is something that we could look at to learn more about Mayan religious ideas. And what we see here is that there's some stories that are detailed in the Popol Vuh that are also related to images found in Olmec artwork. Okay, so what we're seeing is, in some Olmec artwork, there are images that relate to stories that are in the much later Mayan Popol Vuh, the book, the Popol Vuh. Okay, so that means that they must share some type of similar religious ideas. There's a lot of time that has passed between the writing of the Popol Vuh and the artistic imagery of the Olmec that relate to the Popol Vuh, seem to be telling the same story, right? And so because of evidence like that, we are more inclined to believe the continuity hypothesis, that there are certain religious ideas that are common throughout the formative pre-classic period, through the classic into the post-classic period. Certain religious ideas that these major civilizations all believed in. Okay? An example of what they all believed in would be the idea that the world was created and destroyed several times, maybe 4 or 5 different times. Okay? That there had been human civilizations that existed, and those human civilizations were destroyed by some type of cataclysmic event or some type of event that happened, and then once again humanity rose up again into a new world and created a new world. Okay? This belief, this religious belief, is found in a number of different Mesoamerican civilizations. And so that's one thing that they have all in common. Another piece of evidence that supports this continuity hypothesis of Horalaman. Okay, so that's great, because that means if there are similar elements within these various different cultures, we can now project our knowledge from, say, the Aztec religion, which we know a lot more about, back onto the Olmecs, especially if we find evidence that seems to relate to that religion, to see if they have similar religious ideas or concepts. Okay, so that's one way that we could use the limited evidence that we have from the Olmecs to learn more about their religious ideas, and that's why the continuity hypothesis is important, and that's why I'm telling you about it. Okay, it's a way for us to learn more about the Olmecs religion, even though there's not a whole lot of evidence that could clearly tell us what their religious beliefs are. Okay, all right, moving on. Another aspect of Olmec religion is the agricultural fertility complex. What is that? Well, basically, all this means is that there was an agricultural or fertility aspect to the Olmec religion. What is that? I'll give you some examples. There's the focus on a sun god, focus on spirits of plants, particular plants. I already told you earlier that there was maize gods, right? The twin maize gods. There's also rain gods. Okay, these ideas of these spiritual essences that are represented by these gods, and there's rituals and ceremonies related to those particular spiritual essences or gods. Okay, and so basically, because agriculture became the main aspect of how these people survived and lived, these aspects of agriculture, the rain, the sun, the plants themselves, become deified. They become like gods, which you communicate with. Maybe there's ceremonies that are related to those gods in order to have a good harvest or to have good weather, so that life and survival can go on, right? And so you see aspects of this in the Olmec religion as they start shifting towards an agricultural way of life, right? So the religion kind of mirrors their way of life. Okay, agriculture, fertility. When I say fertility, we're talking about the fertility of the earth, right? So that it could grow crops, right, and be fertile. Okay, and the last thing about Olmec religion is their rituals. We don't know a lot of specifics about their rituals themselves, but we do know where places where they were held. Okay, and they were held in a number of different places. In urban settings, in their ceremonial centers, rituals would be held there. We already talked about how they had temples built on top of earthen mounds, and their rituals would be carried out there, but also in other places as well, in say, main plazas within the towns, and also in natural areas. Okay, so next to streams, inside of caves. Caves are very important to the Olmec, right? And this might be another one of those common beliefs held amongst various Mesoamerican civilizations, the sacredness of caves. Why are caves sacred? Let me go back a few slides and show you something. Okay, so see this right here? This is a piece of stone artwork from the Olmecs, right? And what this is an illustration of a man coming out of a cave. That's what this is. So this area right here is a cave, and this is a man coming out. Why is that important? It goes back to their origin story of how humanity came into this current world. Humanity came into the world through a cave, right? Through caves. They came from the underground out into this new world, and that starts this new cycle. Right, and so it's a part of their origin story of the creation of humanity in this world, in this life. So caves are considered sacred, and inside caves you would have rituals being conducted sometimes by the Olmecs. Okay, so a number of different settings where these rituals were held, in natural settings as well as urban settings.